One. So we are live today with an agenda, and our agenda is to make sure that we guide you to go to the next level. And we have been getting a lot of students from different query backgrounds. I know some of you are appearing for the upcoming INICET exam, some of you are targeting the upcoming Neet PG exam, and some of you are targeting the upcoming FMGE exam in June. And you have different sort of queries regarding how to study and what to do about it at different zones. So we are here to take your doubts. It is a open for all kind of a session. You
Yeah.
ask your queries in the chat box, we'll answer.
Okay.
And
Meanwhile,
we'll start with Dr. Deepthi giving you some ideas.
yes, it's a pleasure to connect with all of you. And we thought of reaching out because there were so many messages in the inbox that sometimes we are not able to reply individually, even when we are trying really hard to do that. So we thought to come over and talk in general as well. Now, we all know that Neet PG has been delayed, and when the exam is delayed, usually we see it as a problem, right? There are two types of students who might be here today in our chat box live with us. One who started preparing from last year. So how many of you started preparing for Neet PG exam last year itself, which means you thought that the March would be your endpoint? Yes, and you were all set, all geared up in full momentum for the March exam. So how many of you, can you just give us a thumbs up if you are from last year preparing for the Neet PG and then the exam got delayed? How many of you are here? Yes, we will talk about your GT scores as well. Don't worry. We'll talk about everything. We'll go from scratch and we will build it up for you.
So let's take the first question of the day. We see a bacha has asked a question that, sir, I am stuck at 147 correct in the grand test. So this is not called a stuck, you're doing well.
Yeah.
Second thing is, how do I go about it? First thing is, from a level that you are at, I think your bacha, your name was Mednax. अगर आप एक बार ऐसे लेवल पे हो कि आप 140 से ऊपर कंसिस्टेंटली ठीक कर रहे हो, then the only way to progress is to learn from mistakes.
Yeah.
You need to see जो क्वेश्चन गलत हो रहे हैं. So once you are at the stage where you are making, getting consistently 140 correct, you need to work on your weak areas. And how will you identify your weak areas? You will identify your weak areas by looking at the mistakes. जो क्वेश्चन आपने गलत किए उसका वीडियो सॉल्यूशन आपको जरूर देखना है, and that will give you the edge, because then you will start making less mistakes and you will go into the top bracket. Okay,
right. So sir answered the first query on what you could do if your GT score is stuck. We will take that again as well, because I'm sure we'll have students who are in the same boat. So the second thing is Neet PG delayed. So some of you students are preparing from last year, while there are other category who are starting fresh. So how many of you are here in the live chat box who are starting fresh? I got a few thumbs up from the ones who started last year, because when we talk about these two categories, the reason is because we deal with it differently. Okay, so we deal with it differently. We have different plan of action for students who started last year, and we have different plan of action for people or students who are starting fresh. Yes. Now, if you started last year, your demons or your enemies are different. For example, I am sure the kind of doubts you have in your mind are how to start again, right? So this
momentum. Your question is momentum.
Yes, your first doubt or your demon or enemy is, I'm not able to start again, right? I feel stuck. Whenever I start reading, I feel, oh, I just did this, or those are the kind of problems you have. But look at, remove the word again from this now. A similar problem is for people who are starting fresh. They're also asking us the same query. How do I start? Right? Because I have to make up ground. People are studying from last year. I am going to start now. How do I cover up my ground? How do I start? Which means always at the beginning of the journey, this is our demon. How do we start? Because once you start, right, there are different things to keep you on track. Okay, so now first problem we will take up is how somebody who has been preparing from last year can start again, and how somebody who is beginning their preparation now can start their studies or their preparation. Now, for somebody who is starting again, and when I say again, I mean you have probably covered or read your notes once, right? So you have your notes with you, you might have attended classes, and you have your notes, but please don't mistake notes only for pieces of paper. What I very strongly mean here is concepts. Okay, so this is a tick mark for people who have started preparing last year. So may you want to add something to that?
Okay, so what I'm here to, the first thing I would take here on this topic, I see some questions. Dr. Amruta has said, Madam, I have done only 11 subjects. How should I read now?
Yes.
Sai Chand has said, I am starting fresh. So you are in the starting fresh category, Sai Chand. एक बच्चे ने पूछा हुआ है सर आई वांट टू क्रैक द मे INICET नवंबर आई वाज एट 1600 रैंक, तो INICET भी उसके अंदर एक टारगेट आ गया. So what you need to know is people who are starting again, that means you're already studying, you need that extra push. And usually the kind of program that fits in would be a test and discussion kind of a program where you have a weekly target, revising and giving the paper, okay, and finding what you're doing wrong with the discussions. एक बार समझते हैं, टेस्ट करने से पता चला क्या कमजोर है, डिस्कशन से पता चला उसको अप्रोच कैसे करना है. So then you create that concept. But more important is people who are also targeting the May INI-CET. You need to go thorough on the previous year topics of INI exam, which are there in your INI PYT in your course.
Okay, so very, very important. People who are starting again, as Somer said, it's very, very essential to follow up in a different mode now, right? You have to now switch your focus from only doing your notes to also seeing whether you're able to apply your concepts or not. So your focus should be on giving more and more number of tests. Okay. Also, there is a category of people within this group who say that their notes are incomplete or they have attended only some classes and some is pending. So it's very, very essential that if you have anything pending in your list, this should get priority. Okay, your first enemy has to be your pendencies. You must cover up the subjects that are left. So if anything is left, you should start covering them up. And yes, you can definitely use B2B, back to basic lectures, which also come with notes, to cover up your pendencies. Now this is an absolute must. Okay, on the same note, for people who are starting now, again, your concepts have to be the priority. So if you have never done classes, please ensure that you don't take shortcuts. Okay, attending the class, which means focusing on the concept, is very, very important, because with the pattern of questions that you're getting now, there won't be unusual topics, but the topics would have application of basic concepts. Even INICET is asking so many basic level questions as well, right? So please ensure that people who are starting now are good with concepts, which you can do either in a live class or you could use B2B lectures for the same, depending on what you preferably want to do. If you are someone who wants to study at your own pace, you could use the B2B lectures. If you are someone who needs a curriculum, because it's important to be consistent now, then yes, doing the live class is best, because this is going to happen once every day and it ensures that you are consistent. Okay, so this is the first priority list, covering up your concepts and covering up your pendencies. Now,
and also I just wanted to add, I see some questions by students. One student had a January exam. Vibe had a 147 score in the January FMGE exam, and I see one bacha who is now starting to prepare, and one bacha who wants to revise for FMGE later on. I'll take your queries one by one. See, in FMGE exam, whenever you are restarting, your first goal has to be concepts. You need to listen to the classes again, and because although last exam you were at 147, but this exam will again start at 1. मतलब ये नया मैच होगा ना, तो ऐसा नहीं हो सकता कि 3 ही क्वेश्चन और ठीक करने, ऐसा नहीं, 150 ही और पूरे के पूरे ठीक करने पड़ेंगे. तो FMGE एग्जाम के लिए पहले क्लास करेंगे, Then we will revise with a program called as DFX. उसमें हम सब कुछ आपके साथ रिवाइज करेंगे, and you have to give a lot of tests. Plus this year we are doing a very special event which is called as PYQ का बाप, in which we will revise the previous year questions of Neet PG, FMG and INICET. और मुझे लगता है अगर कोई इन तीनों में थरो होता है तो वो सारे एग्जाम्स में बेनिफिट पाएगा, बिकॉज वी विल डू प्रीवियस ईयर क्वेश्चंस at length of Neet PG, FMG, INICET in PYQ का बाप.
Okay, so moving the algorithm further. So if you have a checklist on your notes and your pendencies, which is true for both sides, whether you are starting again or you are starting now, you need to focus on concepts. Moving on to the second part of your preparation, which is what do I do to revise my notes again? As we said, if you just simply sit with a set of notes and start reading them, it is very likely that you will read them in exactly the same way as you did in the first reading, which means your strengths will remain as your strengths and your weaknesses will remain as your weakness. That is why we said once you are done with notes, in order to revise them, use a different approach. The different approach is with tests. So tests give you, number one, they give you targets, right? So you have targets for which you are preparing. Number two thing that tests give you is consistency, which is what a lot of you lack at this time. Every time you send us a message, ma'am, we are trying to study, but I start, but I cannot because, I feel I have done this, or I feel maybe I should do another subject. So for some reason or other, you are lacking consistency. So tests give you targets, they give you consistencies. Third, they teach you the MCQ skill. I have seen a lot of time my students, even though they have read the theory, they've read the notes, they would come back and say, ma'am, I have done this topic, but somehow I'm always doing it wrong. So probably how to apply those concepts into MCQs is where you lack. So you need to work on the MCQ skill, which is also what the test and discussion gives you, right? So D, any updates. So it's not that the exam is going to ask a lot of updates, but yes, some things are must knows. So we will focus on only those updates which are must knows, not bombarding with you with unusual or unnecessary information. But yes, whatever is necessary should reach you because the exam is delayed by good 5 to 6 months, right? So all these things come up, and most importantly, what the tests tell you is analysis. They tell you what subtopics you are weak at, what topics you have a memory problem with, what topics you have a concept problem with. So it helps you in a good analysis of your level of preparation in that particular subject. Okay, so this is why I feel anyone who's preparing from last year, has already done their notes, they should follow up with tests, right? And then use it to retrogradely revise your notes.
एंड एक ना मैं देख रहा हूँ बहुत सारे बच्चों को क्वेश्चन है कि सर क्या मैं सिर्फ डीवीटी और पीवाईक्यू करूँ ना. अभी ये समझना है कि वो ना लास्ट मंथ स्ट्रेटेजी है, अभी लास्ट मंथ नहीं आया है, अभी बहुत सारा टाइम है. तो सर क्या मैं ये डीवीटी और पीवाईक्यू यही बार बार करता रहूँ? वो सही नहीं है, क्योंकि तेरे पास टाइम ज़्यादा अभी कॉन्सेप्ट बनाने चाहिए. चाहे हम अभी शुरू कर रहे हैं चाहे पहले शुरू किया था, दिस टाइम शुड बी स्पेंड मोर इन कॉन्सेप्ट. तभी अगर आप देखोगे, in every video we keep telling, if you have already started, if you have already done it, you're starting again, go for TND. if you are restarting, go for back to basics or ultimate life. but लेकिन पूरा पढ़ो, क्योंकि अभी टाइम ज़्यादा है. सर इससे क्या फ़र्क पड़ेगा, क्योंकि कॉम्पिटिटिव एग्जाम है ना बेटा. आप कम पढ़ोगे और कोई ज़्यादा पढ़ेगा तो फिर हमें उससे कम्पीट भी तो करना है. तो इसीलिए अभी पहले 4 महीने वी विल बिल्ड दी कॉन्सेप्ट्स, देन वी यूज़ दी हाई यील्ड रिसोर्सेज फॉर रिवीजन. एक स्टूडेंट ने पूछा हुआ चैट बॉक्स में, सर डीएफएक्स कब होगा? मई के मिडिल में विल डू दी डीएफएक्स फॉर योर जून एग्जाम, वी विल रिवाइज एवरीथिंग इन दी डीएफएक्स. एक बच्चे ने पूछा हुआ है कि सर क्या आईएनआई के लिए कोई रिवीजन होगा? पीवाईक्यू के बाप में आकांक्षा अग्रवाल बेटा, इन दी पीवाईक्यू सेशन दैट वी आर डूइंग, पहले हम आईएनआई सीटी के लिए रिवाइज करेंगे अप्रैल में, जून में हम नीट पीजी और एफएमजी वाला रिवाइज करेंगे. एक बच्चे ने पूछा हुआ है कि सर मेरा जीटी स्कोर 130 पे स्टक है, मैं उसमें और क्या कर सकता हूँ? और आई थिंक एक बच्चे ने पूछा सर पटना में फेस टू फेस क्लास है कि नहीं. सो डैम्स पटना में फेस टू फेस टेस्ट एंड डिस्कशन अवेलेबल है. ये हमारा एक फेस टू फेस सेंटर है, आप वहाँ पे ज्वाइन कर सकते हैं.
Okay, coming to the same part for people who are starting now. right? So for people who are starting now, as I said, your first priority has to be your concepts. So doing them either from a live class or B2B is completely your decision. But what is limb number 2 for you? Again, yes, for you also it is MCQs. And what I would recommend for anyone who is starting now, whether you're starting for FMGE exam, Neet PG exam, yes, please start always and always with topic wise MCQs from DQB GOAT. This is what tells you how to apply your concepts that you are reading in the class with the teacher. The good thing is that with DQB GOAT, you have short videos, right? So you sometimes don't want to know the entire theory all over again. You just want to know why B is wrong and why C is right. So these short videos help you in developing the MCQ skill that you should do along with your notes, right? So even for people who are starting now, I would not say that go on to subject test straight away. You should first go on to topic wise MCQs from DQB GOAT. But yes, once you are done with the subject, you should definitely go with the class test or the subject test, right? See, when you have to move forward, you have to go step by step. You can't jump and straight away reach the last ladder. So begin with subject wise DQB questions first. Once you finish the subject, definitely give the class test or the subject test, right? So that is the limb or the corresponding limb for people who are starting now. Okay.
So let us kind of summarize the things once so that people who are joining late can get it. Dekho, now we are dividing you into different kind of groups and I'm going to give you advices for each of the group that we have discussed so far.
Right.
Okay. Pehla group, sir, I was preparing well till December. My entire syllabus was well planned. I was almost finishing, but the exam got postponed. The ideal course for you will be a test and discussion. You need weekly targets. You need to rebuild your grand test giving frequency. अगर उस समय पे बहुत ज़्यादा कर भी लिया था, now we need to kind of build it up. Momentum has to be built up till June. ठीक है? Then you need to read your topic, complete your pendencies, give the test, analyze the mistakes, attend the discussion to understand the concepts, and go on to next subject. Category number 2, sir, I'm starting now. I was not thinking of Neet PG, but because of the delay, now I'm thinking of it. Now, the ideal thing that we recommend to you is the live course because you're starting now. In our live course, we have a very unique class, 5 to 10 every day. So you just have evening for the teacher, you study with the teacher, 10 to 12 after the class, you read those that day note same day. Next day morning, you do the MCQs from the DQB. 100 question you should be doing from DQB GOAT in 2 hours with video solutions that will give you the MCQ skill. And from in between time, like 8 to 10 MCQs in the morning, 10 to 5 testing and analysis, 5 to 10 lecture, 10 to 12 in the evening, again you have a review of the lecture. With this, you can finish the entire syllabus with us in 5 months with extensive discussions and doubt solving. Third category is the students who are appearing for the June FMGE exam. अगेन आपने कंफ्यूज नहीं करना कि सर मैं 130 पे आउट हुआ था, मैं 140 पे आउट हुआ था, अब क्या करना है. देखो कितने पे भी हमने पिछली बार स्कोर लाया, अगला एग्जाम वापस 1 से शुरू करना पड़ेगा. अभी मुझे क्लासेस को दोबारा सुनना चाहिए. आई नीड टू सिट इन द क्लास, मेक माई नोट्स, एंड अगर पहले के नोट्स हैं तो लेके बैठ के भी सुन सकते हैं और फिर DFX से रिवाइज करेंगे और बहुत सारे टेस्ट देने सो दैट द फियर ऑफ गिविंग द एग्जाम गोज अवे. It is very, very important that we are all thorough with the previous year questions. So all 3 category of the students, we need to be thorough with PYQ, which we will cover for you in the PYQ Kabab. We'll cover INICET, Neet PG, FMG, all 3 previous year questions.
Okay. Now, third query and doubt is INICET. Although Dr. Sumer has already answered, I'm just going to put them together because you keep asking us this doubt over and over again. INICET is coming before the other 2 exams. So before your FMG exam, before the Neet PG exam. So what can we do to target the INICET? Sabse pehle, anyone who is seriously targeting INICET, the first thing you should do is go through the INI PYT sessions on the eMedicos app. They cover previous year topics in good depth with, algorithms, tables, right? The way it is asked in the exams. So it's not just an MCQ discussion. We cover whatever details are required for those topics because these topics are asked in depth in the INI. Iske baad, once you have a fair idea of what topics are important, you can revise these specific topics from your notes. So पहले PYT देख लो, फिर वो specific चीजें revise करो. Add-on will be INI TND. Okay, so because again, if you feel that you need to practice questions in the way the INI people are asking, or you need more self-assessment, or you are stuck at a value and you want to go further, then you should add INICET TND to this. It covers good depth. See, I've always said, what is the difference between INICET and Neet PG? Neet PG is wide. Okay, INICET is narrow. They don't ask a lot of different topics, but whatever they ask, they go into the depth of it, right? So it is essential that certain topics which are likely to be asked should be covered in depth even for INICET exam. Superficial knowledge will make you confused between two options. Then comes the third part of it, which will be INI PYQ ka BAP, right? Which is what we are doing in the month of April for you. So this should be the sequence. The PYTs, it gives you a good idea about what needs to come in the exam. Then you revise your notes by yourself or through the INICET TND, and then closer to the exam, we do INI PYQ ka BAP, and we will add DVT for revision.
अच्छा, देर आर अ फ्यू क्वेश्चंस रिगार्डिंग ग्रैंड टेस्ट नाउ, तो मैं वो ले लेता हूँ. आई थिंक कुणाल ने पूछा है, सर मैंने अभी ग्रैंड टेस्ट अभी तक नहीं दिए तो कैसे शुरू करूँ. So Kunal, if you are now starting and now you want to give grand test, I will recommend a formula, exponential formula. In the first month, give 1 GT. Subsequent month, give 2 GTs. Subsequent month, 4 GTs. Then 8 GTs. 1, 2, 4, 8. Then this is how you can cover up for the lost ground. क्योंकि जिनसे आप compete कर रहे हो वो बच्चे एक साल से पेपर दे रहे होंगे, आप अभी कर रहे हो, तो you need to increase the momentum. 1 GT, then next month 2, next month 4, next month 8. I am telling you this will be enough for your upcoming Neet PG exam.
And
एक बच्चे ने पूछा, एक और GT का क्वेश्चन ले रहा हूँ कि सर I was earlier giving, सागर ने पूछा है कि सर पहले मैं GT consistently दे रहा था, अब नहीं दे रहा हूँ. So my answer to you is that the only reason this has happened is because suddenly you are feeling कि वो जो अपने ऊपर stress हमने डाला हुआ था वो give way हो गया. And now we know कि exam is postponed and you are like कि अभी कर लूँगा, बाद में करता हूँ, और उस चक्कर में पोस्टपोनमेंट हो रहा है, प्रोक्रेस्टिनेशन हो रहा है. एंड एक और बच्चे ने भी पूछा था, सर प्रोक्रेस्टिनेट कर रहा हूँ. नाउ यू हैव टू टेल योरसेल्फ कि अभी एग्जाम को मत देख, अभी अपने लिए वीकली टारगेट को देख. सो डिवाइड योर वीक्स इनटू टारगेट्स एंड ओनली लुक एट 1 वीक एट अ टाइम. इस वीक के टारगेट में जो टेस्ट हैं, जो क्वेश्चन है, वो आपको करने. देन यू विल रिक्रिएट द मोमेंटम. अदरवाइज व्हाट विल हैपन, यू विल कीप थिंकिंग एग्जाम तो जुलाई में है, पता नहीं जुलाई का अगस्त ना हो जाए, पढ़ के भी क्या होगा, अगली बार इलेक्शन में कुछ ना डिले हो जाए, पता नहीं क्या हो, तो आप पढ़ नहीं पाओगे. यू नीड टू गिव योरसेल्फ वीकली टारगेट्स, मेक अ वीकली चेकलिस्ट एंड गेट बैक द मोमेंटम ग्रेजुअली.
Okay, started last year. So if you have, you started preparing last year, what should be the GT frequency for you, right? I would say you should now begin with at least, okay, I'm writing at least, and Dr. Sumer can add 3 GTs per month, which means maybe you can give GT at an interval of 10 days, and this is for students who have been preparing from last year itself.
जिनका सिलेबस खत्म हो गया वो ज्यादा ग्रैंड टेस्ट दे सकते हैं, लेकिन जो अभी शुरू कर रहे हैं उनके लिए मैंने फॉर्मूला बनाया 1, 2, 4 और 8.
And it is absolutely okay to repeat grand tests. Please understand, our purpose is to work on our weaknesses. So the entire idea of GT is to find out where I lack. Right? So even if you do an older GT, that is absolutely fine. Okay. Now, please remember, you all consistently ask this. So whether you started last year or started now, we've given you the GT frequency, but how to improve? Please remember, khali GT dene se score improve nahi hota hai. You will reach a plateau, and this is the problem with most of the people, that you reach a plateau. So if you really want to go past this plateau, please use wrong diary, and please use the video solutions of the grand test. They tell you where you lack. They also help you understand whether it was a memory recall or problem or a concept problem, or your knowledge was superficial, or was it a new topic for you?
यहीं पे
Right?
ना एक क्वेश्चन मैं लेना चाहता हूँ नवदीप शर्मा। नवदीप ने पूछा सर ग्रैंड टेस्ट करते हुए कोई ऐसा क्वेश्चन मिलता है जो मुझे नया लग रहा होता है, उसका क्या करना है? जैसा मैडम ने बताया ना, वहाँ रॉन्ग डायरी काम आएगी। If you are making a mistake in the grand test and you feel it's a conceptual mistake that you need to know, you need to look at it again, please add that point, small little point in your wrong diary. वो रॉन्ग डायरी आखिरी दिन में बहुत काम आती है, और बहुत सारे बच्चे डैम्स की रॉन्ग डायरी आइडिया को लेके आखिर में टॉप भी कर जाते हैं एग्जाम में, बिकॉज यू नो व्हाट यू आर मेकिंग एज अ मिस्टेक। तो रॉन्ग डायरी बेटा, नवदीप शर्मा आपका आंसर है बेटा।
Okay, I will take another query here. Some of you feel that in the GT or in the class test or in any test that you are doing a silly mistake. Now, I'm going to open your eyes to something. Go back to that question and see again. Majority of times, what you are calling is a silly mistake is actually not a silly mistake. Only sometimes it's a silly mistake. Majority of times, your knowledge was a little superficial. And
it is
when
lack of concept that is causing that
yes,
mistake to happen.
when you read it
silly
from the
mistake
solution,
का मतलब होता है कि आपको आता है लेकिन आप गलती से गलत कर दिए। लेकिन लैक ऑफ नॉलेज का मतलब है कि आपको वो दो बातों के बारे में क्लैरिटी ऑफ अंडरस्टैंडिंग या डेप्थ ऑफ अंडरस्टैंडिंग नहीं थी, इसीलिए आप गलत कर रहे हैं। और ये बहुत ज़रूरी है कि अभी बहुत टाइम है टू बिल्ड डेप्थ इन योर कॉन्सेप्ट्स। कई स्टूडेंट गलती क्या कर रहे हैं, वो सीधा एंड की तरफ बढ़ रहे हैं। एंड नहीं है, अभी बहुत समय है और वी हैव टू यूज इट। मैं एक क्वेश्चन और लूंगा, फिर डॉक्टर दीप्ति आपको दे रहा हूँ। एक बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट क्वेश्चन है, श्रवण सुब्रमण्यम ने पूछा है, सर आई हैव स्टार्टेड माय फर्स्ट एंड सेकंड ईयर सब्जेक्ट, आई एम नॉट एबल टू कंप्लीट, अब मैं आगे क्या करूँ? Now, the mistake that you're doing is that, beta, you are trying to self-control the game. You have to give the remote control to the teacher. What I have seen is many time when you are only reading from, अपना एक preset mind के पहले anatomy पढ़ूंगा एक महीने के लिए, फिर biochemistry, तो फिर वो 6 महीने में syllabus नहीं खत्म होगा, because अपना पेपर आ रहा है, हमें पता है जुलाई के अंदर है। So I would say join the ultimate live course and use the speed of the teacher to cover the ground. आपका जल्दी कोर्स खत्म होगा, एक एक हफ्ते में आप सिलेबस खत्म करना शुरू कर दोगे, बिकॉज टीचर्स एट डैम्स विल ओनली फोकस ऑन द मोस्ट लाइकली आस्क्ड टॉपिक्स। हम उतना पढ़ेंगे जितना ज़रूरी है, तो उससे वो हम एक समय के साथ उसे खत्म कर पाएंगे और डाउट सॉल्विंग भी पैरेलल साथ में हो पाएगी।
Right. Now, also, there was another query and you keep asking us, I'm at this much correct, that much correct
I
in
think
GT.
ये बहुत ज़रूरी आंसर करना। अर्पिता बेटा, अर्पिता अगर 60 करेक्ट अभी कर रहे हैं वो बहुत कम है। आपको रेगुलर क्लासरूम फेस टू फेस या अल्टीमेट लाइव में होना चाहिए। वी नीड टू बी वर्किंग ऑन द कंटेंट। 60 करेक्ट बहुत कम है, इसमें आपको कॉन्सेप्ट को बनाना ही पड़ेगा। ये खाली एमसीक्यू स्किल का क्वेश्चन नहीं है बेटा, ये कंटेंट का क्वेश्चन है अर्पिता।
Okay, anybody who is at less than 100 correct in GT, okay, anybody who is at less than 100 correct in GT, your problem is content. I've been repeatedly saying this, I will say this again. You need to work on your content. Maybe you have not covered certain subjects, maybe some subjects you have covered only superficially. So it is a good idea to sit and write down on a piece of paper what subjects are pending, what subjects you have covered very superficially. If you are between 100 and 120 correct, you need to revise more, but at the same time you need to work on your MCQ practice as well, and you could give 50-50 time to each. Okay, 50% time you should spend in revising your notes, 50% time you should spend in solving MCQs. People between 120 to 140, okay, you have to work more and more on identifying key topics that are pulling you down. Okay, so in every subject there would be some topics that you have sort of left out, or you feel they are not asked. So identify those key topics, they will quickly build up your score. Second, definitely give more tests. Okay, so tests will help you in rapidly revising your subjects. It will also help you in telling you your weak zones. And
the discussion after the test will tell you how to approach those weaknesses. Yes. It's very important that only the test is not sufficient, because if you give test, it finds those, वो weak zone ढूंढेगा, लेकिन discussion उसकी approach को solve करेगी. So we need the test followed by discussion. And I also want to point out, if you are more than 140 correct, please add INIPYT into your journey, INICET into your journey, wrong diary into your journey. Also, you have to think of the May exam as a short target, beta. You have to target the
Yes,
May
for
exam.
people who are beyond 140 but are at a plateau, you already have read a lot. The problem is now you start reading unusual things. To think that now to go into the 150 zone, I have to really read something that everyone else is not reading, and that is where the problem starts coming up. If you are at 140 or a little more than that, no, stop reading unusual things. They'll actually make a problem for you. You need to simply diligently focus on your wrong diary and work on it consistently between one GT and another GT. So that should be the goal, depending on what is your number of correct questions in the grand test. Okay.
Okay, so let me take some question. Aditya Babu from Hyderabad has said, sir, how do I remember concepts? Simple. 3 methods of revision are spaced repetition. That means you need to look at your notes at different interval. एक आज देखा, एक महीने बाद फिर देखा. You need to revise it again. You need to, Aditya Babu, you need to apply them on the tests. Because when you make a mistake or when you force your brain to actively recall on the exam day, you tend to create a circuit that helps you to recall in the exam day. And third will be daily DQB practice. रोज प्रैक्टिस करनी पड़ेगी क्वेश्चंस की ताकि आदत पड़ जाए टू एक्टिवली रिकॉल. सो डेली DQB प्रैक्टिस एटलीस्ट 50, ideally 100, at least 50, ideally 100 questions. Give cyclical test, space revision. Active recall, space revision, daily MCQ practice are the 3 tested tools to remember concepts. एक क्वेश्चन मैं लेना चाहता हूँ. आई थिंक एक बच्चे ने पूछा है कि मैडम गिव अस डेली टारगेट्स. आई एम श्योर मैडम विल गिव यू. एंड ऑल्सो आई थिंक एक ना बात जो मैडम कह रही थी बहुत ही खूबसूरती से मैडम ने इसको यहाँ एक्सप्लेन किया है कि आप किस जोन में हो. So if you are right now in a dilemma that what should be my strategy, please give a grand test and use that grand test as a diagnostic procedure.
Yeah.
ना कि जजमेंट के लिए मत यूज करो कि मैं हे भगवान मेरा क्या होगा. उसको डायग्नोसिस के लिए यूज करते हैं. Like in radiology we do diagnosis. So you give a grand test as diagnosis. If you are less than 100 correct, जैसे एक बच्ची ने बोला सर मैंने क्लास भी किया फिर भी 100 कम है, फिर भी बेटा आपका फिर भी प्रॉब्लम है, आपको ठीक से आपने पूरा नहीं किया, आपको दोबारा क्लास करना चाहिए क्योंकि लेस देन 100 करेक्ट पे मुश्किल होगा. ठीक है. सो देन द प्रॉब्लम इज कंटेंट एंड देन द आइडियल मेथड विल बी आइदर अ फेस टू फेस और अ लाइव क्लास. 100 to 120 पे जाएंगे. और ये ऐसा नहीं है कि ये आपका हमेशा के लिए जजमेंट हो गया. आप हर बार इंप्रूव भी तो करोगे ना बेटा. हो सकता है आप 100 से शुरू करो, आफ्टर 3 months यू कम टू 140 करेक्ट, अपन वो INI पे आ जाएंगे ना. Look at it as level 1 therapy, level 2, level 3, level 4, and you will keep changing the stage according to how you progress in the going forward thing. But if in the first GT that you give at the diagnostic level, ये benchmark बहुत जरूरी है कि we want you to be above 140 correct. So if you are in 120 to 140, we would say TND will help. If you are less than 100, definitely you need to come to a classroom. 100 to 120, you can use the mix and match approach.
Yes.
But less than 100, there is no doubt on it. Okay. And also I am seeing some question around 70 GTs are available in the app. What should I do?
Start with the
most recent.
Yeah.
AJ, start from the latest GT. है ना. हमेशा हम डैम्स में हमेशा कहते हैं कि उल्टा चलना है. ये मेडिकल का भी रूल है बेटा. जो लेटेस्ट गाइडलाइन है उसी से चलना है आपने. जो लास्ट अगर प्रीवियस ईयर क्वेश्चन भी करने हैं तो पिछले साल से चलते हुए पीछे जाने हैं, उल्टा नहीं शुरू करना. वी नीड टू स्टार्ट फ्रॉम द लेटेस्ट एंड गो बैकवर्ड्स.
Okay, I'm going to take the next doubt, which I'm sure is a doubt of many students. Confused between two options. है ना? I feel I'm confused between two options. Again, I'm going to make an algorithm for you. सबसे पहले आपको देखना है, when you say you are confused between two options, is it in majority of questions or is it in some questions? Okay, you have to see in which category do you belong to. Are you confused in two options in majority of MCQs or in some MCQs? If you are confused in two options in majority of MCQs, I'll tell you what the reason is. Number one, you are not sticking to one thing to read or revise. You are trying to do everything from everywhere. If that hits you, please let me know, right? So if you are confused between two options in majority of questions, the reason is bombardment of information which may not be authentic, which may not be from the subject faculty, which may not be covering the depth as well. So if it is you are confused in two options in majority of questions, you need to revise in depth. Why? Because when the options are close, okay, you are not able to rule them out, because for that you need the depth of information, you need some values, you need some clear cut ideas there, right? So revise in depth. Number 2, restrict your resource. Okay, restrict your resource, right?
यहाँ ना मैं
Stick.
थोड़ा सा ऐड करूंगा, ये मैंने आज के सुबह ट्रांसफॉर्म सेशन में ही बता रहा था कि रिस्ट्रिक्ट रिसोर्स से कई बार क्या हो रहा है, आई नो आप कई बार बच्चे जब हम फॉर्मेटिव ईयर्स के अंदर होते हैं, समटाइम्स यू कलेक्ट अ लॉट ऑफ रिसोर्सेज और आप उसमें पैसे भी लगाते हो, आपने ये भी खरीद लिया, उसका ये ले लिया, उसके वीडियो में ज़्यादा घंटे थे वो भी ले लिया, ये भी ले लिया, वो रटा रहे थे वो भी, सब इकट्ठा कर लिया आपने, और
अब लेकिन
आपने
खिचड़ी
अब
पक गई
आपने
है।
पैसे लगा दिए, तो इसका ये मतलब नहीं है कि आप उसमें फिर से टाइम खराब करें। आप जरूर उसको देखें कि आपको पता है कि क्या चीज काम की नहीं है, उसको छोड़ना भी पड़ेगा। डोंट कीप फ्लॉगिंग द डेड हॉर्स। ऐसा ना हो कि आप बहुत कुछ करने के चक्कर में इन 6 महीने कुछ भी ना करें। सो स्टिक टू योर TND, स्टिक टू योर रेगुलर क्लास। जो टीचर बता रहे हैं वो काफी है, उससे ऊपर मैं ज्यादा इकट्ठा करने से कंफ्यूजन क्रिएट होती है। एक और चीज मैं यहाँ लेना चाहता हूँ क्वेश्चन, क्योंकि वो बहुत ही इंपॉर्टेंट है। एक बच्चे ने पूछा, भावेश सर हाउ डू वी अवॉइड द बर्नआउट एट दिस स्टेज। मैं बताना चाहता हूँ, मोमेंटम बिल्ड करना है, ठीक है। देख, अगर सपोज यू वांट टू स्टडी 12 आवर्स अ डे, अभी मत कर, अभी थोड़ा कम कर, धीरे धीरे एग्जाम के पास मोमेंटम बिल्ड करना है। जैसे क्रिकेट में होता है ना, वी प्ले द इनिशियल ओवर्स डिफरेंटली फ्रॉम द फाइनल ओवर्स, so that we are able to build the momentum till the end. Okay.
Right. So coming to the algorithm, what I was writing. So confused between two options in majority of questions. You need to revise in depth. I have circled depth. You need to restrict what you are reading, right? And third, importantly, you must know what topics are must know. उसमें ना you cannot afford to get confused. Okay? देखो, हर सब्जेक्ट में कुछ टॉपिक्स होते हैं जो एग्जाम में आते ही आते हैं, एंड अगर वो टॉपिक आ रहे हैं और उसमें आप कंफ्यूज हो रहे हो, देन इट विल क्रिएट मोर प्रॉब्लम फॉर यू इन टर्म्स ऑफ रैंक्स। लेकिन हाँ, कोई अनयूजुअल एक सब्जेक्ट में से कोई टॉपिक आया जो वैसे उतना नहीं आता था बट अब आ गया, दैट विल रियली नॉट हैम्पर योर रैंक अ लॉट। बट टॉपिक्स विच आर मस्ट नोज, वो उसमें यू कैन नॉट अफोर्ड टू गेट कंफ्यूज्ड इन ऑप्शंस, दे हैव टू बी ऑन योर टिप्स, and that is exactly why we say use help, use the test papers, use the grand test papers, use your resources that we are anyways giving it to you. So use them to know what are those topics which you cannot afford to lose, and the best way to know them is the test paper, whether it is a TND paper or a class test paper. These are the topics that you cannot afford not knowing or getting confused with. If you are confused in two options, only in some questions, not all, then number 1, improve your concentration during the paper. A lot
ये
of
बहुत
times
इंपॉर्टेंट है, क्योंकि एक बच्चे का क्वेश्चन भी था, एक बच्चे का क्वेश्चन था, मैडम कि आई एम गेटिंग बोर्ड आफ्टर 100 क्वेश्चन अटेम्प्ट करके बोर हो जाता हूँ। भाई जिंदगी डिपेंड कर रही है उस पर, तू बोर हो रहा, पिक्चर थोड़ी चल रही है भाई, एग्जाम है। यू नीड टू लर्न टू कंसंट्रेट फॉर द फुल 3 आवर्स बाय प्रैक्टिस। देखो
Yeah.
ऐसे नहीं आता कि मैंने बोल दिया तूने कल सीख लिया, ऐसा नहीं होगा, हमें प्रैक्टिस करनी पड़ेगी। क्रिकेटर भी ऐसे करते हैं, मैराथन रनर भी ऐसे करते हैं, फुटबॉलर्स भी ऐसे करते हैं। जो अगर सपोज करते हैं, एक बार सोच, वर्ल्ड कप का फाइनल चल रहा है, तो उस फुटबॉल मैच में फाइनल खेल रहा है, उस दिन मैं लाइटली नहीं ले सकता। मेरी जिंदगी का मौका है कि मैं लेगेसी बना सकूं, मैं जिंदगी की कहानी बना सकूं, उसमें कंसंट्रेट करना पड़ेगा। एंड टू डू दैट आई नीड टू प्रैक्टिस सच टेस्ट। आई स्ट्रांगली रिकमेंड गिविंग CBTs to improve your concentration and acclimatize to the exam environment.
Okay, so improve your concentration. Number 2, learn the MCQ skill. MCQ skill में बहुत सारी चीजें आती हैं. Me and Dr. Sumer have made a special video on it, that how can you crush the MCQs. Please go through that video. It is a must know video. It will tell you how to improve your MCQ skill so that you stop getting confused or reduce the number of questions where you are getting confused in two options. So if it is only in some questions, you need to work on your concentration, you need to work on your MCQ skill, right? If it is most, you need to go into depth, you need to restrict your resources, and you must know what are the must know topics, right? So that was a common, I think it's a common query, madam or sir, I get confused in two options, what should I do? Okay,
I think very insightful. और देखो एक दो बच्चों ने पूछा सर मेरे लास्ट एफएमजी, आई थिंक बच्चे ने पूछा लास्ट एफएमजी आई वाज एट 149. बेटा मैं तेरे को सिर्फ इतना बताना चाहता हूँ कि घबरा मत, सिर्फ एक गलती हुई है, अगली बार इंप्रूव कर लेंगे, आप पास हो जाओगे. बट वी नीड टू रीस्टार्ट एज इफ वी आर स्टार्टिंग फ्रॉम द स्क्रैच, बिकॉज अगला एग्जाम फिर एक नंबर से शुरू होगा, 149 से नहीं होगा. पहले क्लास करते हैं, डीएफएक्स करेंगे, टेस्ट करते हैं, ये पूरा करेंगे और करना ही पड़ेगा, और आप 100% अगली बार पास हो जाओगे. घबराओ नहीं, स्टे स्ट्रांग. आई नो इट हर्ट्स व्हेन यू गेट आउट एट 149. एक और बच्चे ने पूछा है, मुझे लगता है बहुत ही इंपॉर्टेंट क्वेश्चन है वो, कि सर मेरे ना एक सब्जेक्ट हो गया है, आई थिंक शायद ऑब्स नहीं पूछ रहा था, आई थिंक नवदीप, एक सब्जेक्ट हो गया है, मैं भी उसको थोड़ा ऐड करना चाहता हूँ. मैंने उसका क्लास नोट्स भी कर लिया, डीवीटी भी कर लिया, फिर भी गलत हो रहा है. फिर क्वेश्चन कौन करेगा भाई नवदीप? आपने डीक्यूबी भी करना है और उसका टेस्ट भी देना है, बिकॉज विदाउट प्रैक्टिसिंग द क्वेश्चंस ऑफ दैट सब्जेक्ट यू आर नॉट कंप्लीटिंग द सर्कल. आपने टीचर का सुन लिया, लिख लिया, याद कर लिया, आप फिर लेकिन क्वेश्चन भी तो प्रैक्टिस करोगे. वंस यू डू द सर्कल, आई एम प्रॉमिसिंग यू, उसके बाद आप नहीं हारोगे.
अच्छा, और दूसरी बात जो एक्चुअली डॉक्टर सुमेर ने पहले बोली भी है, when you are far away from the exam, so let's say this is where the exam is, right, and this is the journey that you have to take, right? So it's a long drawn process, है ना? What you have to do now at point A is different from what you will do at point B, and it is going to be different from what you will be doing at point C, right? Please understand revision resources, DFX, DVT, PYQ का बाप, okay? These are resources which need to be done close to the exam, right? Doing a rapid revision right now does not fetch you anything, okay? So please understand, you cannot cut short on your content, you cannot cut short on your MCQ practice, okay? You need to be thorough. This is the phase where you be thorough. This is the phase where you go with momentum. समझ रहे हो? दोनों चीजों का तैयारी अलग अलग है. It is different. So from point A to point B is the point to be thorough. From point B to point C is where you gain momentum. And from point C to the exam is where you utilize resources
booster
which
doses
are
like DVT,
yes,
PYQs, booster dose which are likely to come in the exam in the end, and you want to see them once more.
So please ensure आप कुछ उल्टा ना कर रहे हो. Point B पे आप short resources use कर रहे हो without focusing on your MCQ skills, without focusing on your content. It will not really push your score, beta ji.
I
right?
think this is the most important part of the table today. So we'll take some time here. Just notice this. I think madam has beautifully described कि एक फेज होता है जो आपने ज्यादा थरो जाना है, एक फेज है जहां आप मोमेंटम को बढ़ाओगे, रिवीजन बढ़ाओगे, एक होगा जो एक्स्ट्रा एज के लिए जाओगे. द मिस्टेक दैट मेनी पीपल आर डूइंग, दे आर यूजिंग द फाइनल फेज रिसोर्स इन द अर्ली फेज. वो ही सॉल्व करना है. थरो फेज में नोट्स, लाइव क्लास, क्लास नोट्स, लाइव क्लास, ज्यादातर ये रहेगा, बैक टू बेसिक्स. मोमेंटम फेज में जाके हमारा डीवीटी, डीएफएक्स ये सब आ जाएगा, और एग्जाम के एकदम पास जाके प्रीवियस ईयर क्वेश्चन, सीबीटीज और ये सब आएगा. इफ यू आर ऑलरेडी गिविंग ग्रैंड टेस्ट, continue doing them at least twice or thrice a month. If you are starting now, 1 GT now, 2 GT next month, 4 GT next to next month, 8 GT, 1 2 4 8 formula you have to follow. FMG बच्चे please make sure that you are thorough. FMG का एग्जाम नीट पीजी के जैसा ही आ रहा है, मुश्किल आ रहा है, क्लिनिकल आ रहा है. सिर्फ आखिरी में एक महीने पढ़ के नहीं चलेगा, अभी से करना पड़ेगा. ढंग से करेंगे जरूर पास होंगे.
Also, I will put down the ratios that you need to follow. So when you are at point A, okay, when you are at point A, the ratio is 70-30. Matlab 70% of your time should be spent doing notes. 30% of your time should be spent doing MCQs. Okay. When you reach point B, this is the time when you will go 50-50. Okay, 50% of your time solving MCQs and 50% of your time in revising or reading your notes. Okay, and by the time you come from B to C, the ratio will again change. It will become 30-70, which means you should be spending more time giving tests, analyzing your tests, going retrograde to what you have done wrong and then revising it. So that is the kind of ratios we need from you at different phases in your preparation, right? So please remember this, that you have to use different strategies at different times. Is that clear to everyone? Yes? Okay. Right. So I think these were majority of the queries that came up in the chat box that you wanted us to answer. Is there anything else that comes as a common query that I can answer for you all today so that I'm able to help you out? Time frame between A, B and C. So this really depends on what exam you are targeting and you change that. Okay. So let's presume if there is a, let's say if there is a 5-month span. Okay, if there is a 5-month span, what should be the time frame where you are thorough and what should be the time frame where you start gaining momentum? I would say for 5 months, you know, it should be 3 and 2. So 3 months you spent being thorough and 2 months where you gain the momentum. Okay. And similarly, you can do that if the time duration decreases. Let's say you have approximately 4 months, then I would say spend around 2.5 in the thorough phase and 1.5 for your momentum phase, right? So that is the kind of ratios we need when we talk about the exam strategy. See, the problem is that everyone here in the chat box is a hard worker. The problem is everyone here has a very good IQ level. You are all having a high intention to do well in the exam. So then what is going to demarcate you all? Okay, the demarcation would be, did you use smart studying strategies or not? Which means, did you know that initially you had to be thorough, you had to be good with content? Did you know that you had to practice more MCQs in the middle? Did you know that you had to practice more tests toward the end? Right? So those are the kind of strategies that you need, bache. Okay. No, the upcoming CBT on Sunday is going to be Neet PG pattern, but yes, we will keep INICET mock on eMedico's app for all of you. Right? Now, this is also, since somebody has brought it up, it is a kind request. Please give the CBT. Even if you feel that, your preparation is not up to the mark, you are not right now back in the game, you have not covered subjects, you haven't started now, whatever it is, bache, please give CBT. It can itself be an assessment tool for you. It could be the diagnostic test for you to really have an insight on what you lack, where you need to work, where you need to focus. So give the CBT, bache. Okay. Sir had an urgent meeting, so now I am here, and if the meeting is over, he would join us back. But by that time, I can answer your queries if you have anything specific to ask for. Absolutely, yes, Yash, you have enough time to prepare for INICET. Please focus on the strategy that I gave you. Pehle PYT dekh lo, Yash, so that you have a good idea on what is required. Then start revising notes, and towards the end go to INI PYQ ka BAP and DVT, bache. Okay. Yes, that's wow. That is also the answer for you. So anybody who's starting for INICET now has to follow the same strategy. I wrote it somewhere at the top. I am going to go to that again. So this is for anyone wanting to start for INICET. Start with INI PYT. It is available on the app. You get to know what is asked, how much depth is asked, what topics are asked. Then you go to revise your notes, or you do the INICET TND, or you do both. And towards the end, we will do the INI PYQ ka BAP. And you would definitely add DVT for revision close to the exam. Okay. How to improve IQ level? Oh, come on. I don't think I have to tell you that. See, what can beat IQ? Who can tell me that? How can we beat a person who has a high IQ level? How can we beat that person? Right? By working hard. Believe me, by working hard, we can leave anyone behind, even if they have a high IQ. So they will also have to work hard, right? So if you're working in the right direction, it shouldn't be slogging. It has to be with strategy. It has to be smart study. So if you work hard in the right direction and with consistency, you can break anybody's top ranks and cross. Okay, so ensure that you work hard in the right direction with consistency. Is that I hope that answers your query, bache. Okay. Okay, so somebody who is doing TND now, please remember that in TND there are 2 cycles that are available for you. Okay, so there are 2 cycles, by which I mean one is already uploaded and one is going on. So what you do is you use the schedule of the cycle which is going on currently and keep preparing. But let's say you have a smaller subject TND coming up, or a subject which you are very confident with and you don't really need 6 days to prepare for it. Then what you can do is simultaneously cover another subject from the already available TND. So there are 2 TNDs available in your subscription, right? One which has recently happened, all the videos, the test papers are there, and one which is going on with the live schedule. So that's how you use the 2 to accelerate whenever you want to accelerate. Also, TND comes with B2B. So back to basic lectures are available to all TND users. So suppose you have certain subjects which you are weak at, or you have certain subjects which you feel, you want to redo them, you can use the B2B lectures for that purpose. The B2B lectures also have notes underneath them to accelerate the process again, right? Okay, somebody says, what should be the deciding factor to not attempt the question in the GT? I would say, if you really don't know anything about 3 options, if you know something about 2 options, please go and mark it. You have to learn to be aggressive in competitive exams, because it is going to happen over a period of time. It won't happen, in one GT. So what you do is you go aggressive, you find out your mistakes and you revise them from your notes using your wrong diary. So, but yes, if you don't know anything about 3 options, then yes, maybe you can leave that and go back and read about that topic either from the video discussions or from your class notes itself, right? What should be the frequency of SWTs? SWTs don't really need a frequency. They have to be used for your first revision. Okay, so anybody who is wanting to begin their first revision should give SWT. SWT will not only cover the must-know topics, it will also cover last 5 to 7 year PYQs. So when you begin your first revision, it's a good idea to begin with SWTs, then use it to revise your notes, right? So whatever topics are there, you must revise those topics first from the notes. Whatever you have done wrong, you should pay extra attention to revising those from your notes, right? So that's Monisha, that was for you. So as I said, particularly for SWTs, there's no need of a frequency, just use it for your first revision. Okay, right. I think on that note, we have covered a lot of ground, a lot of commonly asked questions and doubts, and we divided you guys into 2 groups, people who were preparing from last year and people who are starting now. So utilize these methods, okay, and see where you lack and work on those areas. This is the time to go thorough, okay. How to review GT? I have, made a video on that, and anybody who uses that, almost every topper says that it's the 3-column strategy is something that will work for everyone, no matter what is your number of correct questions. So 3-column strategy to review GT. Please see this video of mine on Dam's Daily YouTube channel. It is a very detailed video which tells you how to analyze, assess your grand tests, and then how to improvise through that analysis, right? So please go through that video. And if you have any doubts after, going through the video, do ping me, do send me a message, and I'll be happy to help. So on that note, I'm going to close the session today. We'll keep coming back for more live sessions, every day. Remember, we have multiple ways of reaching out to you. So every day, Monday to Friday, 7 p.m., we have live lectures on YouTube. Every day from Monday to Thursday, 10 p.m., we have a EQ series on eMedico's app, which is free for all. It is in the homepage under the Doctor's Lounge section. So do join in. It is an MCQ discussion happening every day at 10 p.m. on eMedico's app. Apart from that, every day morning, Monday to Friday, 10 a.m., me and Dr. Sumer come live on eMedico's in the Transform sessions to talk to you about various things, whether it is strategy, mindset, non-academic things, academic things, and so on and so forth. So we are trying to reach out to you in various possible ways so that, we stay in touch, because eventually we are in this together, right? So please remember that you're not alone in it. No doubt the exam is delayed and it acts as a stressor for us, but we have to beat the stress. We have to ensure there is consistency. We have to ensure there is hard work in the right direction. Okay, so take care, everyone. We'll see you again live on Dams Daily YouTube channel very, very soon. Till then, take care of yourselves, keep smiling, keep studying, and do let us know if we could help in any other way. Take care.